You're listening to the Contented Catcast from St. Claus Academy with Lisa Sinnott. Email stclausacademy@gmail.com.
Really delighted to be here with Hanna Fushihara today. Hanna is the founder of Nosework Cats.com. Hanna kindly come to mine and Claire's cat behaviour conference, and we got so many lovely testimonials and feedback on her session all about nose work for cats. So Hanna, what inspired you to adapt nose work, which traditionally is associated with dogs, for cats?
Right. So I had been doing nose work with my dog pretty competitively, and he passed away, and so I didn't have a animal to be training anymore. And so when I wanted to participate in an online nose work contest that was happening during the pandemic, I only had my cats. And so I just decided that I would participate with my cats in any way that I could. And so I just started modifying whatever I knew about scent work for dogs to cats.
Awesome. And what benefits do you feel, and what clients have come back to you and said that the benefits of nose work for their cats?
Sure. So I think that everybody gets really hooked on the fact that they start to see the world through their cat's perspective, much more when they start to do nose work with them, because scent is something that humans don't really use too much, other than just when we're eating, but we don't really use it for too many other things. And so we don't really know what's happening even in our own environment, in terms of like airflow and stuff like that. And so being able to actually see the world through our cat's eyes or our cat's nose, and understanding what's going on, which is something that we just cannot, quote unquote see, because our nose is limited in its capacity. And so I think that one thing that is really beneficial is just that we start to see things from the cat's perspective much more. That's something that I've heard a lot, and something that I experienced as well too.
Cool. Have clients ever come to you and said that, noticed a difference in behaviour? So if, I don't know, you found that their cat was maybe attention seeking, maybe pawing at them for attention, have they found that nose work has had a good effect on that to kind of bust boredom?
Yeah, and like, I guess, when we're talking about boredom with cats, like a lot of times we're thinking about like aerobic activity, so like playing with like a toy or something. But what I really like about nose work is that it's something that the cat is problem solving, and so the activity or like the tiring part of it is like we're tiring out their brain, and it has some kind of different way of making them calmer, because like it's sort of like a different way of getting tired, right? Like we could be running on a treadmill for a long time or really fast and get tired, or we could like be trying to solve some kind of problem and like going through that process, like we also get tired. So like that's something that I think is really great, in terms of like if we're talking about attention seeking behavior and like being bored, like this is something that we can do relatively easily, that can help with that. And it's a different way of getting your cat enriched, other than like some of the other things that are maybe a little bit more
Yeah.
popular.
How kind of different is it, do you find, from puzzle feeders and food enrichment? Obviously, there's a lot of like Kongs for cats, or the
Yeah,
Trixie kind of, well, there's lots of, Nina Otterson has some, and or you can make your own, and Licky Maps and all sorts of
yep.
things.
Yeah, and I love all of those
Mm.
things as well. But I usually try to sort of like how I explain it is like a food puzzle or something is sort of like trying to pick berries
Yeah.
on a bush, right? So like the animal is not moving too much and like everything is sort of centered in one particular
Mm.
area. Um, and so maybe they're doing a lot of sniffing, like to try to figure out exactly where it is. But they're not moving too much. And so nose work has more to do with spatial
Mm.
navigation. And so when I'm watching a cat try to figure out a puzzle, like a nosework puzzle or a nosework, setup, uh I'm watching them actually almost like do
Nice.
geometry with like scent that they're experiencing. And so it's a little, so that's the different part. They're both, for both activities they're using their nose, but it's a little bit different
Oh,
in that way.
nice. That's so cool. I really like that analogy of the berry picking. Yeah. And do you have a kind of favorite success story from either one of your cats or one of your students?
Sure. I mean, like I have a
Oh.
bunch. Um, I really, so my own personal one is just that. So I basically made this whole curriculum based on my cat Muncho, who
Oh,
now
I'm so,
passed away. But he had been sort of like my
okay,
problem
yeah.
child for a long. And because I also had dogs that were very needy in terms of like attention. Like he kind of always got the short end of the stick. Muncho
Mm.
always did. And so once I only had cats left in my household, he got a lot of attention.
Mm.
And so he became the star of the show. And, um, instead of being like my problem child, he became my genius
Oh.
child, right? Because Nosework was just so good for him, and he was so good at it, like figuring it out. And I loved watching him like try to, figure out a
Mm.
problem, because like just having him even like stand there and sort of like the cats when they're trying to figure out a problem, like just this is something that I've just witnessed, and I don't know, like I can't really tell you scientifically like that this is
Yeah.
definitely the case, but just from observing my cat and also students cats, they kind of pause, and like you almost like think that they're either giving up or like they don't know what
Right.
they're doing. But it's almost like after this weird pause they then like make a very like specific choice of like directional movement or
Mm.
something. And so I started to watch him and saw him like, working out problems. And so it was just wonderful to go from like he was my problem child to he's my
Oh,
genius, personally
yeah.
speaking. um and I loved working with um, some people that were doing work in shelter
Mm.
environment,
Yeah.
and especially with the shy
Mm.
cats, um, because it's always so hard. One particular person was working with cats that were living communally. And so, trying to do a training in a communal environment, and also with shy cats,
Mm.
like that seems like, it's just not
Mm.
possible. But we modified some of the steps that I go through in my class for that particular scenario. And we were able to get the cats to actually want to sort of like do some problem solving. I had the person step out of the room to so that the cats could freely move around without being worried about the person
Nice.
there. Um, but as like the days went on, they started looking forward to this person coming into the
Oh,
room. Um, and so over time, like it went from the person coming into the room being sort of like a scary thing to them looking forward to the person coming into the room, even though the person wasn't present while they were problem
mm,
solving. Um, Obviously, the precursor to this activity. And so they started to make that connection. And so that was really
that's so
great.
cool.
Um, and just from like sort of like being able to watch student cats. I had a student who has uh, cats that are either blind or sight
Mm,
compromised, to a certain extent. And watching them work is really fascinating and amazing just because they have so much more experience beforehand
mm,
navigating space, probably also using their
mm,
nose. Um, and so they tended not to give up easily at all because they were so
yeah.
used to this. They weren't used to navigating space with the goal being to find the food
Mm,
necessarily, but just sort of watching them problem solve like spatially was really
yeah.
fascinating for me. Because they actually moved more. Like it was interesting because those cats didn't do the pause as much. They actually kept moving. Then they might have moved sort of like either side to side or in a circle while they were thinking, which I thought was really interesting
Yeah.
too. Um, yeah, so like those are some stories that like come to
Oh,
mind,
that's
I
so
guess.
amazing. How long have you been doing it?
Um, Maybe
5 years.
5 years
Yeah, because I
now, I
remember
think.
Claire saying she did it
Um,
in COVID with her cats. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Because it started during
mm,
COVID that I figured this
yeah.
out. So
Ah, that's so cool. And if someone obviously wants to try this today, obviously your website's there. But what would you say is a easy mistake as a beginner that people might make if there's any?
sure. There's two
Hmm.
things. One is you really need to make sure that you have food that your cat really,
Okay.
really wants. So not making any assumptions, and actually potentially even doing a taste test. So in my class, like I have a video of like a cat performing a taste test
Oh.
and us being able to observe and make and going, so which treat out of these four was the one that the cat liked
Mm.
the best, right? Because I have a feeling that we all tend to make
Yep.
assumptions like all the time, and so this is really good for taking data and making sure that you're using something that the cat really wants. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is just not not making it so
Yeah.
difficult. So like the steps in my class are very, very simple, and I try to take everybody through um, very incremental steps just so that we're covering almost everybody that
Yeah.
I can think of, right? Um, and some cats are going to be able to sort of blow through it, and other cats, hopefully, the small increments will be helpful. But a lot of times, if somebody's having a problem with like their cat searching, it's usually based on the fact that we have made it too hard in
Right.
some way. And again, like that kind of comes up with like the assumptions that the person had. And so it's always fine to like sort of like stop in the moment and go, oh, I think maybe this was too hard. And resetting the whole setup so that maybe it's a little bit easier. Because again, like because we're human and we don't have noses, we don't know how the air is even moving in the room. So like we could be thinking that the cat is going to take a certain path just in our minds while we're thinking of like where we're going to put things. But a lot of times, like that's just not the case because the way that the air is moving in that room, the scent is just, pooling in some area that we had no idea of. And so it's just making sure that like your search setup is in a way that it's doable, and we might have to like redo it. But yeah, like a lot of times, like it's those two things, sort of like whether or not the cat is motivated enough, and then B is, did you make it too hard?
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. I was just reading about your cats that you fostered. Did you do those with them? Did you do any nose work with them?
No, like when I was fostering, that was I did a lot of fostering when I was still living in the city. I live in the
Sure.
country now, and I was doing a lot of
Yeah.
TNR, trap, neuter, return. So at the time, and so a lot of those were feral cats
Sure.
also. Um, and I was literally just using my bathroom. If it were now and I could, like, it would be a chance to possibly do something with them. Like I said, because it's so hands off. And the cat doesn't necessarily have to be doing anything directly
Yeah.
with the human. Um, but yeah, like that was before the nose
Sure.
work times.
Sure.
So
And there's lots of great, very kind free previews of your course. I mean, it's a great price,
yep,
but if people are a bit unsure, they can have a look over at noseworkcats.thinkthick.com, and there's some previews of what's involved in the course. And it's
yep,
6 months that people get access to it, and a discussion board as well if people have got questions, which is great. That's really
yep,
cool.
exactly.
Brilliant. Is there a kind of funny moment that's happened during training that you can? Oh,
Uh, Funny moments happen all the time, which is why it's kind
yeah.
of fun, right? but I guess it's also kind of like a perspective too. Like I feel like the bloopers, like maybe like for some people, like bloopers would be like
Mm,
frustrating, but I always think that they're generally
yeah,
pretty
it's
funny,
true. It's true.
right? I do have one video. I'm pretty sure it's on my
Okay.
YouTube. If not, like after this uh recording, I'll make
Oh,
it
thank
public.
you.
But I'm pretty sure it's up there. There's a search that I did with my cat Muncho, and this is before the class curriculum was made, but this was like during that online competition that I was talking about. I did this setup with seaweed, like Japanese
Yeah.
nori, like the kind that goes
Okay.
around sushi. Um, that was his favorite food.
Really? Ah,
Yeah, absolutely favorite food. And I was like, how can I use this in some creative way that could also be a new
mm,
nosework search? And I was like, well, if I maybe had it like hanging, like it would make
yeah.
more
Yeah.
sense. And so I cut black construction paper also to sort of look like it looks like nori
Okay.
also. Um, Seaweed. So the seaweed pieces, there was always just one seaweed piece and then a bunch of like black pieces of construction paper. And I hung them in my hallway.
Ah,
Um, and so he had to sort of like figure out which one was the real
I
one,
love
like the
that.
real food. And while he was sort of like trying to figure that out and going back and forth in the hallway, his tail was up. And so, like, it kept on like hitting the string that was holding everything. And so the whole setup would sort of like move also. And so it just was really funny. And like, I think in the video, like, I'm laughing the whole time. Um, so yeah, like that was like probably like the fun search that I
Oh,
made.
that's so cool. I love that. And you've done some talks with Dr. Michael Delgado as well with her book, um, Play with
Yep.
Your Cat. Why do you think it's so important to kind of play with your cat?
To play.
Yeah.
I think that I think that uh, play is just a way to
Mm,
bond, right? Like, and obviously, like for the humans, like petting or something might feel good to us, but I know that there are a lot of cats out there that also don't necessarily want to be touched a
yeah.
lot. And so, like, play is like another way of bonding. Like, we don't necessarily even have to
Yeah.
touch. um, like I said before, like nose work is something that like we can do with our cats without even like having them directly
Mm,
interacting with us, but we're still sort of like the one to make it
mm,
happen. And so, like, we're bonding through that
yeah.
still. And so I think that that's maybe the most important thing about play to me. Of course, like it's enrichment, but in terms of like sort of the relationship, I think that like play is just important that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, like you said, that you become the predictor of something good, and building up those confidence in those shy
Right.
cats, or either temperamentally they're just nervous, or maybe they've had a bad experience with people. Yeah, that's such a special thing that you've created. I love it. Um,
Yeah.
what
Thanks.
what do you see nose work for cats? What would you love kind of to see? I mean, I'd love to see it like around every shelter, doing nose work for cats, or people knowing more about it, so to prevent behavioral problems. And I guess it, because it's so low impact as well, it's not, a toy that they're jumping up and maybe hurting joints with. It's good for cats that are recovering from operations as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, because then you
definitely.
can control the
Um, I
space, like how far they can move while
yeah,
speaking to your clinician, your vet.
I feel like the the downside in terms of like
Mm.
nose work, which is sort of like the good part about it, is that like you have to be really patient
Mm,
sometimes. And when we're talking about like our current world, which is like super fast moving, everybody also wants to videotape things and have it be cute on social media and
yeah,
stuff like that. Like, it's hard to actually sort of have like a really, really good nosework clip.
yeah,
um, you might be able to get one, but it's not made for sort of like being viral
yeah,
necessarily. It's something that's sort of slow and steady. So, like, if we're talking about like the tortoise and the hare, it's definitely the
yeah.
tortoise. Um, it's not super flashy, but I think that that's sort of why it's also really
Mm,
good. And again, especially for cats that are shy,
mm,
like this is so
yeah,
great because we're going really slow. Um, but yeah, like having more places that know about it, especially shelters that feel comfortable actually
mm,
implementing it. I did work with a bunch of people from different shelters, and um, we were even able to do it in a freely sort of like free roam, like large space. We just sort of dedicated one room to it being like nosework area, and we just decided that like whatever cat wanted to come was free to
ah,
come. And if they, so it wasn't like, we just took one cat and we're like, okay, like now it's your turn. It's very, very customizable to, I think, a lot of different
yeah.
scenarios. Um,
Not so.
but yeah, like there's sort of like the pros and cons to it, I
Mm,
guess, in that way.
yeah. So I think plays like thing I like about Nosework is, like you say, it's kind of self-directed. Just because
Yeah.
play with cats, obviously, it's so important. And there is a great infographic by, I think it's Lily Sheen, and she talks about how to play with your cat, and give guides on that. But it can be easy to get play wrong and kind of get the cat scared of the toy. Because,
Yeah.
we think, oh, maybe they want it dangled in their face, but that's not what a prey animal would do. They prefer it, in my experience, they prefer it hidden,
Moving
and
away.
so they can pounce. So I think, there's lots of great benefits to it. Oh.
Yeah, and I think it's also maybe good for cats that Nosework is great for cats that get overstimulated easily also. Like with toy play, like that can happen as well.
Absolutely.
And so what's nice about Nosework is that we're directing their attention to the environment and not necessarily to us or our
Yeah.
hands. And so that's another kind of cat that maybe like it would be really beneficial
Have you done it
for.
with kittens?
I personally haven't, because I've basically had like a
Oh,
geriatric cat
yeah.
house. But I did have students doing it with
Yeah.
their kittens. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I can't remember I can't really remember kittenhood now, but clients that have got kittens, and you feel all broody about kittens, but they're doing what they do. They're climbing the curtains, they're scratching faces, they're wanting to pounce on hands and feet. So yeah, I think scent work and nose work would be really, really fun for them. Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, Hannah.
Thank you so much for having
Oh,
me,
pleasure.
Lisa.
So, as I mentioned, Hannah's course is online. You can get access to it for 6 months, and there's also a discussion board. So, if you've got any questions as well, but do check out her course. Noseworkcats.com.